the organ harvesters of the border zone. Episode 7, The Off-Record Heart. Some stories end quietly, with a whisper, with a missing person's name fading from conversation. With a document sealed away in a folder no one opens again. But not this one. This one didn't end. It arrived on my doorstep, in a package I didn't order, sent from nowhere, containing something that should never have passed through a civilian postal system. And yet, it did. The box was small, plain cardboard, no stamps, no return address, no smudges from handling. It didn't look shipped, it looked placed. A dead giveaway. People who want to threaten you send messages. People who want to warn you send evidence. People who want to silence you send weapons. But people who want you to understand something, they send exactly what they know you won't ignore. Inside the box was a smaller insulated container, medical-grade foam, packed the way organ couriers pack biological shipments. I've seen dozens of real ones in my life. This one wasn't real. It was better, cleaner, sharper, more professional than anything a legal transplant service would ever use. On the lid was a strip of red tape printed with a single line, "Disposal not required." A phrase that tells you the sender was not improvising. They were quoting procedure. I opened the container. Inside was a sealed, sterile pouch. Inside the pouch, a human heart, not fresh, not rotten, preserved, fixed in solution, a perfect specimen. But the preservation wasn't the horrifying part. It was the detail taped to the pouch, a QR code, a barcode, a field marked ID number, and under it, an empty space where a name should have been. Someone had cut that name out, cleanly, with surgical precision. Only one thing remained. Extraction date, yesterday. Not figuratively, not poetically, literally, yesterday. Whoever sent this was telling me, this isn't history you're investigating. This isn't an old operation. This is happening now, right now, and someone wanted me to know it. There was a second envelope under the container, thin, folded, smelled faintly of ethanol. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No heading, no signature, just 3 lines. You missed a site. You missed a route. And you're not looking high enough. Below the message were coordinates. Latitude, longitude, a place that, on most maps, looks like nothing. A stretch of dusty road near a restricted industrial zone, a place where people don't go unless they work there. I went. I shouldn't have, but I did. The coordinates led to a fenced-off lot, plain, featureless, surrounded by warning signs that claimed it was contaminated industrial property. An obvious lie. Contaminated sites don't hum. This place did. A low vibration under the ground, coming from generators buried deeper than the fence line, not enough to be industrial, enough to power refrigeration units, the perfect amount to keep inventory cold. I walked the perimeter. There were no cameras outside. That told me there were cameras inside. Then I found something I didn't expect. Tire tracks. Fresh ones. Heavy vehicle. Deep treads. Turning radius consistent with a van. A white van. The same model from the ditch. And next to the tracks, footprints. 3 sets. 1 normal stride, heavy boots. 1 lighter stride, probably carrying weight. The third, drag marks, heel, toe, heel, toe. Someone being walked, not walking, and then the marks ended. Right at a steel basement door built into the ground. Fresh padlock, new bolts, and a keypad with one number worn more than the others, 1, as if someone pressed it every single day. The door was cold to the touch, frigid, refrigeration running below. I couldn't open it. But the fact that someone wanted me to find it was troubling. Someone wanted me to know the collectors weren't hiding. They were preparing, scaling, accelerating. Back home, I scanned the QR code taped to the heart's pouch. It didn't open a website. It didn't link to a file. It opened a directory for a medical logistics company, a back-end portal, a place only employees with clearance should have access to. The heading read, Donor Registry, External Pool. External pool, meaning off-record, meaning untraceable, meaning never existed. Next to the extraction date was a field, client delivered, yes, delivered, meaning the heart in my possession wasn't the original one collected, meaning the recipient somewhere in the world already had their transplant, already owed their life to a system that kills to keep the wealthy alive, meaning the heart in my hands was a copy, a decoy, a message. The machine was telling me, you think you've uncovered us. You haven't even reached the threshold. Below that was one final field, remaining stock. 3. Stock. 3 more bodies, alive or not alive, somewhere beneath a metal door in the desert, waiting to be processed. Because, to the system, they're not people. They're inventory. There was one last thing in the package, a second pouch. Empty. Same type as the one the heart was sealed in. But instead of a barcode, it had a blank white label, untouched, waiting. The note next to it read, Donor pending. No name, no number. Just 2 chilling implications. The machine has identified its next donor. Someone wanted me to know that the next one has not been harvested yet, or worse, ... that the pouch is for me, a warning, a threat, or an invitation to stop. I didn't. Because if they wanted me dead, they wouldn't send me a blank pouch. They'd send the collectors, and I wouldn't be recording this. I returned the heart to the authorities in a way they couldn't trace back to me. But I kept the envelope, and the coordinates, and the knowledge that somewhere out there under the soil behind reinforced doors, men in sterile vests and blank expressions are still following schedules, still performing their roles, still waiting for their next window. Somewhere out there, the auditors are making decisions. Somewhere out there, Unit 14 is writing new procurement codes. Somewhere out there, someone is pressing order on a human organ, confident the system will deliver. Because it always has. Because it always will, unless someone forces the machine to choke on its own silence. But that isn't my job. I'm just the storyteller, the collector of stories, not the collector of bodies. Someone else will have to decide what to do with what I've uncovered here. As for me, I'll keep the lights on tonight, and if the generator hums beneath the floorboards, I'll know the collectors aren't far behind.